Hello everyone, I'm your host and welcome back to another episode of our show. Today we have a proverb that goes like this: greed begins with desire and ends with chains. We as humans are naturally inclined towards wanting more. We want a better car, a bigger house, nicer clothes, fancier vacations, and the list doesn't end here. There is always something or the other that we want in our lives. But the moment we let our greed take over us, we become a slave to it. The chains of greed can be very strong and can make us do things that are against our own interest. Greed is one such human emotion that, if not kept in check, can lead us to the path of destruction. It affects every aspect of our life, our relationships, our careers, our decisions, and so much more. So today on the show, let's try to understand this proverb. Greed begins with desire and ends with chains. Let's begin. Our story begins in a kingdom far, far away. Once upon a time, there lived a king who was known for his immense wealth and power. He lived in a huge palace made out of gold and diamonds. He had everything that money could buy. But despite having everything, the king was never satisfied. His heart knew no limits when it came to greed. One day the king was strolling in his garden when he saw a bird sitting on a tree. The bird was singing a beautiful song, and the king was mesmerized by its melodious voice. He asked his men to catch the bird and keep it in the cage so that he could listen to it singing every day. The men caught the bird and put it in a golden cage, but the bird died within a few days. You might wonder why. Well, it's because the bird was meant to fly freely in the open sky. Keeping it in a golden cage wasn't serving the bird's purpose, so it died. The king didn't understand this. All he saw was a dead bird in a golden cage. Once again, the king was strolling in the garden when he saw a fish in the lake. The fish was playing in the water, and the king wanted it. He took the fish out of the water and put it in a golden bowl, but the fish died within a few hours. Again, why? Because the fish was meant to swim freely in the lake. Keeping it in a golden bowl wasn't serving the fish's purpose, so it died. The king still didn't understand this. The king was sad that all the beautiful things he had collected were dying. He decided to find out why. He went to an old wise man and asked him what was he doing wrong. The old man looked at the dead bird and the dead fish and said, "My king, you are trying to possess things that are meant to be free. The bird was meant to fly in the sky, and the fish was meant to swim in the lake. By trying to possess them, you killed their spirit. They would rather die than live under your captivity." The king understood his mistake. He realized that his greed was killing everything that came his way. He freed the bird and the fish. This is what our first story holds. Whatever you possess has a purpose for which it was created. Try to understand that purpose and respect it. When you start respecting it, your greed will automatically come under control. Now let's try to understand this through another story. Once upon a time there lived a woodcutter. He lived deep in the woods with his family and spent his days cutting wood and collecting money. One day while cutting wood, the woodcutter saw a small hut. He went near it and knocked on the door. A witch opened the door and invited him inside. She offered him food and drink and asked him to stay the night at her place. The woodcutter accepted her offer. When it was time to sleep, the witch gave him an option. She said, "You can sleep on this three-legged stool or you can sleep on this magic bed. The only thing I ask in return is that you tell me whatever your last wish was before you slept." The woodcutter thought about it and said that he would like to sleep on the magic bed. The witch waved her magic wand and the bed turned into gold. The woodcutter slept on the bed, but when he woke up he couldn't move. The witch came and asked him for his last wish. He told her that he wanted to go back to his normal life. The witch waved her magic wand and the bed returned to its original form. She explained to the woodcutter that she had given him an option to choose between his desire and his freedom. By choosing the former, he gave up his freedom and became a prisoner of his own greed. The woodcutter realized his mistake. He understood that greed can make you choose the wrong thing. He thanked the witch for teaching him this lesson and went back home. Now let's try to learn from this story. Sometimes we get tempted by things that are beyond our reach, and we lose what we already have in our greed to get those things. Remember, being greedy will only land you in trouble. It will snatch away the happiness that you have earned through your hard work. Let's now try to understand this proverb through another story. Once upon a time, there lived a farmer. He had a small farm where he grew crops to sustain himself and his family. The farmer worked hard in his fields from sunrise to sunset. One day, as he was returning from the field, he saw a magical ring lying in the dirt. He picked it up and wore it. Suddenly, the ring started glowing, and a genie came out of it. The genie granted him 3 wishes. The farmer thought for a moment. He could ask for lots of money, a big house, or a fancy car. But then he thought about his life. He had worked hard as a farmer all his life, and his hands were rough and dirty. If he became rich, people would look down upon him because of his rough hands. If he had a big house, he would have to hire servants to clean and maintain it. And if he had a fancy car, he would have to spend lots of money on gas and insurance. The farmer thought about all this and asked for something else. He asked the genie to give him calluses like those of a king. The genie asked him why he wanted calluses like those of a king. The farmer explained to the genie how his hands were rough and dirty from working in the fields and how he didn't want any of that to change. He liked being a farmer and didn't want anything that would take away his freedom. The genie respected his wish and vanished. The farmer continued to work in his fields, happy with what he had. He understood that true happiness comes from within and not from material possessions. Now, let's learn from the farmer's wisdom. True contentment can only be achieved when you're grateful for what you have rather than constantly wanting more. Remember, the chains of greed can be heavy, but the chains of gratitude are light and lead to true contentment. So friends, greed is like a fire that burns everything around it. It's important to be aware of its destructive power and keep it under control. Let's take a moment to reflect on the stories and the valuable lessons they hold. How can we apply these lessons in our daily lives to overcome greed? What steps can we take to cultivate contentment and gratitude for what we have? And with this, we come to the end of today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the stories and learned something new from them. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. And before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content like this. Have a wonderful day and see you soon. Bye.